Great.
So welcome to Triple C's Reporting Deep Dive webinar. We'll get started with some introductions and housekeeping items, and then we'll go ahead and kick everything off. So my name is Lee Hicks. I am the Senior Manager of Accounts here at Triple C, which means I oversee our team of wonderful account managers, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, your dedicated point of contact here at Triple C.
All right. And my name is Emily Salzer. I've been an account manager with Triple C for over 5 years, and I currently oversee all of the Southeast locations. I'm going to summarize today's call. We're going to go over and highlight some of the most used reporting and teach you ways to customize and share a range of reports to fit all of your needs. Some housekeeping items before we get started. This call is going to be recorded. We're going to send that out a little later on today, or maybe even after 5 o'clock today. And if you have any questions, we have our support team on the line today. They're going to be answering all of your questions if you can add them into the chat bar. We're going to turn our cameras off so you can see our screen and see the most of our screen. So we're going to say goodbye for right now. We're still going to be talking, and then we'll turn it back on at the end of our webinar. So I'm going to hand it over to Lee and let her start talking about reports.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Yep. Right. So first off, why run reports? One of the benefits is that reporting allows you to establish realistic sales goals and expectations for your team. So you're going to be able to use previous sales data to set expectations for the upcoming months. It's also going to increase productivity, improve analysis and decision-making, along with communication and collaboration within your teams. It's going to allow you to take a data-driven approach in explaining why you're doing something as a business. Lastly, it's going to allow you to implement strategic plans based on current trends. So maybe you've seen a decline in events in a certain room, and through your reporting, you realize this began shortly after increasing the rental fee for that particular room. So you may need to revisit that decision. That said, the first step in getting the most out of your reports is making sure that your Triple C account is set up for success. So next, we're going to talk about setting your account up for accurate reporting. The way your account is set up definitely impacts the accuracy and the level of detail that's going to be provided. So the more information that you enter into Triple C, the more useful your reporting will be. We always like to say, the more you put in, the more you get out. So let's start by walking through some key data points that are crucial for your reporting. First, going to touch on the difference between menu item categories versus billing details. So your menu item categories are your revenue buckets within Triple C. Best practice is to have these match the categories that you have set in your POS system. That's just going to make reconciling between both systems much more streamlined. Menu item categories are how we categorize sales and determine what applicable taxes, fees, or gratuities should apply. So some examples here, you can see in the screenshot on the right here, beverage, food. You might also have room rental or AV, maybe linen rentals. So anything along those lines are some examples. And then your billing details are those applicable taxes, gratuities, or fees. They're typically percentage-based, but they can also be a flat fee. So in our screenshot here, a couple examples, we've got our service charge / admin fee and state sales tax. So those are examples of billing details. So now that we've reviewed menu item categories and billing details, let's talk about what's included in the actual. So you'll hear us talk about actual a lot as we go through some reports today. The actual is the total of all menu item category charges, excluding the billing details, so excluding taxes, fees, gratuities. And this is what most people would consider their sales. So our sales goals are based on the actual amount. If you're looking for a total inclusive of billing details, like your taxes and fees, you would look to the grand total. So now I'm going to pass it over to Emily. She's going to talk through the importance of good data.
Lee, just want to make sure that you can see my screen right now of getting the most out of your data.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the use of data at your fingertips is very important. We want to make sure what you put in to the triple seat is what you're going to get out. The information is only as important as what you put in. So as you're putting leads into the system or as they're flowing into the system, it's important to make sure to input the source and where the lead is starting from. Phone calls, walk-ins, emails, or maybe even social media. You can enter the lead source or change the lead sources under your preferences. Converting qualified leads into an event, it's important to put in the basic information. So as you are running reports on lost data, you're able to understand why you are losing events and how much revenue is associated with the event that you're losing. It's important to fill out the entire page and all the drop downs. For example, the F&B minimums or the rental fees. Lost data can be very useful. Making sure to fill out that information can also be found under your preferences, under your settings, to add some lost reasons. We're going to talk about reconciling receipts and reconciling and closing out your events. The 3 R's of closing out an event consists of reconciling, recording, and adding the receipt. We're going to start with the last one, which is adding the receipt in the top right-hand corner under attached files. If you do have the CCC application as a shortcut on your phone, this choose file will say take a picture. So at the end of the event, if you have CCC on your phone, you can take a quick picture of your POS and have the receipt uploaded. And think about this event as your filing cabinet. You're going to have all of your information from your discussions, your notes, all the way up to your receipts. The second is recording the payment. So we're going to go to the payment tab, and you can see on mine, I've had 2 payments, a deposit for their first round and a payment of the second round. I want to go ahead and record my payment for $2,000, and I want to save and pay. You do not need to be connected to CCC's payment platforms. You can simply choose credit card in store if you've run them through your POS. I'm going to choose credit card in store. I'm going to select the date, and I'm going to put a reference number of my check number that I ran through the POS and submit. You can see I now have no outstanding payment. I can then record on when it was paid and how it was paid, and I can report on this. The last thing is, sorry, I skipped a step. The last thing would be making sure that we add any extra payments that need to be made. There's a couple of different ways we can do this. I'm going to go onto our document and our contract and event order and scroll down to my billing widget. You can see here I have a billing item of the additional items they purchased on the night of their event for $100. I added that into my event. The other way to do this is to actually itemize the actual extra items that were ordered by your guest on the night of the event. I can go ahead and add freehand, and I can say extra wine, and it was $100. Go ahead and choose my category as beverage and add. So we can see now at the bottom, I have $100 left on this event, and I can go and charge their card, or we could have charged it on the night of the event. So I'm just reconciling it. All right. I'm going to pass this over to Lee now, and we're going to go to the reports tab, and we're going to talk a little bit about the visual dashboard on the top of your reports.
Yeah, so now we're looking at that reports tab, and we want to walk through a few of our favorite reports, what we call our power reports, and then also just break down how to navigate this page in case you aren't familiar. So up top, as Emily mentioned, you'll see a few visual dashboards. These are there to give you a quick glimpse of your events by status, your revenue by status, leads by source, and event revenue funnel. The time period of these can be adjusted just by clicking those 3 gray dots you see there. in the right-hand corner. And then there's going to be a drop-down to update the time frame. Right. And then below the visual dashboards are the different types of reports. So they're organized into different categories. So right now we're looking at events, but if you continue to scroll down this page, you'll see bookings category, accounts and contacts, leads, and so on. Each of the reports includes a description of what they include, and you're able to use those pre-made canned report buttons to quickly see the basics of a report. But what we're going to be doing today, and we'll dive into in just a moment, is that each of these reports can also be customized as needed. When you do customize one, if there's a report that you're using frequently, customizing frequently, you do have the option to save them. So on the right-hand side of each report, you'll see the saved versions. So that way you're not having to apply the same filters or groupings or timeframes each and every time. You can just quickly click in there to pull up that report. Reports can also be exported to Excel. So you'll see when we dive into one of the reports in the right-hand corner, there's an export button, and that's going to allow you to just kind of slice and dice the data as needed, or if you maybe need it in a different format than what's straight out the box with Triple Seat, I highly recommend exporting. All right.
Thank you, Lee. All right, the first report that we're going to take a look at is the event detail report, which is the first report on your screen. I would say I use this report 90% of the time, and you can get the most data out of this report. There's 3 popular ways to customize this report for forecasting, prospecting, and lost business. For forecasting, we're going to see what's in the pipeline for potential revenue. So the first report we're going to do is a 3-month forecast. I always like to customize reports to make them as small as possible. So I'm going to press custom and then customize and start adding the information. So for the date of the event, I want to do the next 3 months. And I'd like to look at all definite, tentative, and prospect events. If I kept all of my statuses open, it would then capture all of the data from all of the statuses. It's the same idea with all of our areas of owners and locations and event styles. I'm going to go ahead and make this report a little bit smaller and just select all in my lake grill view. And I want to leave all owners the same. I'm going to choose the tab Grouping and Sorting to group this report by event status. In my columns, I'm going to delete every single item within this report to start the building of the report from the ground up. So for this report, I would like to know the name of the event, the date of the event. I'd like to know how many people are coming to the event, the type of event, and obviously I want to know how much money I'm making. We've grouped this report, we've sorted it by its status, so we're going to see a total in each area. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and make this report a little bit bigger. I'm going to take the select all off, and we're going to update it one more time. Great. So upcoming in the next 3 months, we have $52,000 worth of definite events happening. We have $24,000 worth of tentative, and we have 0 currently on the books for prospect. After understanding how many of your events go from the prospect to tentative to definite stage, we can start assigning a value to each one of these statuses. We recommend 75% of the tentative status revenue actually comes through, 25 of prospect, and obviously 100 of your definite. So we can get an accurate forecast of what's happening in the next 3 months. Okay. The next report I'm going to run is going to be a prospecting report. I like to use this report during holiday season. I also like to use this report during slower summer months. I'm going to come and go back to the reports and start from the ground up to build this report. I'm going to go to custom and then customize again. The date of the range of events is I'm going to look during holiday time. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose last year of November 2021. My holiday events normally start somewhere around the 15th. So I'm going to choose the 13th of this one. And then I'm going to go all the way to January 2022 on the 8th. I'm going to leave everything blank because not only do I want to see the events that booked, but I also want to see the events that I lost because I want to go after all of those customers. In this one, I'm going to group my events by type of event. Specifically, I want to reach out to my holiday events or my corporate events rather than my bridal showers or baby showers that are normally just once a year. In columns, I'm going to do exactly what I did in my last report of deleting every single thing within the report and then start to build the report from the ground up. So the important things that I'm really looking for in this report is my guests' information. So I want their first name, I want their phone number, and I want their email address. One other thing I want to know is how much money they spent with me at their event. I already grouped it by type of event, and I'm going to sort it by the date. I'm going to go ahead and run this report. Okay, so during holiday time last year, I had 12 events that happened. We can see $52,000 of meetings, 3,000 of corporate anniversary parties. And this is where that bad data comes in. I have no type in here, so I don't know what type of events those were. I have a dinner and a shower. I can export this report in the top right-hand corner and take all the email addresses and send out a mass email to everybody, welcoming them back to our restaurant to host their holiday event again. The other thing I can do is I can contact them directly if their phone numbers are listed. Normally, what I like to do is email the people that spent an average amount of money with me. I'd like to pick up the phone and call the people that spent over a certain amount. So as you can see, around $14,000 is a lot of money. I'm going to come back up and customize my report one more time. And I'm going to put anybody that has a grand total above $14,000 I want to see now. So 10 people got taken out of that report. And I have 4 people that spent a lot of money with me. And I can pick up the phone and call them directly. If I'd like, I also could send them a cookie platter or bagels in the morning, and I can add their address in here of where I want to send it to. Street address, city, and state if I wanted to send them a special package. You can see I don't even have that information in my system, so that's why it's very important to make sure that we're adding the account and contact information when we're entering new guests into the system. Okay, we're going to keep the date range exactly the same in this report, but really what I'm looking for are lost events. I want to understand why I'm losing customers and where they're going to. I can make that date range exactly what I want. Right now, I'm just going to say all dates before today. So year to date, I want to see what events I've lost. In my columns, I'm going to delete some of the items in here that I'm no longer looking for. And really what I'd like to know is why I'm losing these events. So I'm going to add the lost reason and lost details. And of course, I want to associate how many dollars I lost with these events. Under group and sorting, I could leave it on what type of events I'm losing. But instead, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do it by month. I'm going to update the report. And we have not lost any events year to date, which is amazing. All right. Okay, I'm going to pass this off to Lee, and we're going to talk about the event financial report next. So let me pull that up.
Yeah. So as you guys can see, that event details report is really helpful. It can be customized so many different ways and used for so many different things. So I'd say about 90% of the reports you're pulling in Triple C are probably going to be using that particular report. But we are going to shift gears a little bit and take a look now at the event financial report. So this one is a great report if you want to see how you're performing year over year. For today, we're going to pull it by quarter.
Sorry about that, Lee.
And now we're going to be able to see each quarter, and it's going to be grouped beneath the year. So we'll take a look at that. All right, so you can see on top we've got 2021 and all 4 quarters listed below, and then 2022, we're just in Q2, so you'll just see 2 rows on that one. And as a reminder, you are able to use calendar year or fiscal year, just depending on how you operate and how your admin has you set up in Triple Seat. So just something to be aware of. But as you can see, this report shows in detail where the money's coming from. So on the left, you're going to see all non-definite breakdown information, so your prospect and tentative events. And then as you scroll over to the right, you can see current actuals. So if we're looking at 2022, this year, the second row for Q2, when you reference that definite closed actual column, you can compare where you're at right now to the previous period. So that's the column to the right of that, the 169,786. So that would be comparing it to Q1 2022. Or a couple of columns over, you've got your previous year as well. So you can compare where you stand for Q2 2022 to Q2 2021. I also like this report because it shows you your sales goals on the far right. And so you can kind of see how you're tracking towards those. One other thing you can do with this report is filter it by created date. So Emily, if you go into customize, let's take a look at that. So under date grouping is where you can switch it from event date to created date. And when you do this, you're going to get a new view, basically a whole new report. And this is a great indicator to see when business is booking and how you're pacing year over year, quarter over quarter. So based on the data in our system here, you can see that in 2021, looking at definite / closed actual column, we booked the most business in Q1. And it looks like same goes for this year, 2022. Q1 was a stronger start than Q2. Awesome. Emily, do you want to take a look at the event sales summary report next?
Great, yes. All right, so the event sales summary is located right underneath the event financial report. Once again, I like this report to look at by month or by quarter, but if you have fiscal periods and you have those set up under your settings, you can also run this report by fiscal period. I'm going to run by month. And currently it's going to show me each one of my locations, their month sales, what their goal is, and how much I have remaining to hit this goal. We can also group this report by owner instead of by location, also including the sales goals. The best practice for this would be pulling this report weekly for your team meeting to see where they are every single week, to be able to coach them to hit their goals. This is also a great way if you are looking in July to book your Christmas business. If you have a goal of 50,000, you can see how far away you are from that goal and what else you need to do to hit it. All right. Another favorite report that I have is the lead conversion report. This report provides an ROI insight into each one of your lead sources and can be utilized to provide what lead generation resources are worth investing in. And here is the lead conversion report. I'm going to click on one of the reports on the right-hand side so you can see this report and how it looks when it's saved. You can see it comes up with the same items that I left the report in. Once I do that, I can also come back to customize report and change my date range or change how it's sorted or add some information into my columns. I'm going to take lead source out since right now I have it grouped by lead source, so it makes my report just a little bit smaller. My favorite way to group this report obviously is by lead source, and I normally like to share this report with my marketing team. This way we can see if we are doing a Facebook ad or if we're doing an Instagram ad, and the ad was running between March and April. We can see how many people clicked on that ad and filled out our lead form. And out of those people, how many of them are going to definite events. And that's very important because if you're putting an ad on Instagram and you're getting a lot of leads, but they're not actually converting to the definite rate, then we're just getting a lot of leads. So it's interesting to see how these leads are qualified, how they come through the system, how many of them come through, and then the total revenue that's associated with the lead form or this lead source. We talked about this earlier in the call, but if you don't have lead sources in your system, you want to go ahead and add those under settings and then preferences. If you see anything that has no source, which is right here, that means that lead was added and nobody used the drop down when entering them into Triple Seat. Okay, I'm going to pass this back to Lee and we're going to talk about the account and contact report.
Yeah, so those are found at the very bottom of this reports page. Just have to do a little scrolling to get there. But the first thing I want to point out under this section is the general accounts and contacts reports. They can be exported with just a single click. You'll see these canned buttons here, general export. But another thing you can do is export by zip code, which is really great for planning a sales blitz in a targeted area. That said, the report we're really going to focus on in this section today is the most booked contacts report. So this one, we can just kind of look at it a couple different ways. Emily, if you want to click in the most booked contacts report, let's just run it. Let's see. So this one, we can pull in the number of events. So that's going to be under our grouping and sorting. We want to have our event count. So Emily, I think you're in the general contact report rather than the most booked.
Oh, I apologize about that.
Okay. So that one can be customized to get the same view as the most booked contacts report, but this is going to save you a few steps just by clicking into this most booked contacts report that we already have created for you. So it's going to be the third one down under accounts and contacts.
There it is. Great.
Perfect.
And customize.
And actually, we can use one of the pre-canned for this.
Okay, the ones that are already created?
Yeah, we'll save a step here too. Yeah, let's just look at last 6 months. Perfect. So you'll see this one, you don't have to even click into customize. We've got our most booked contacts. And right now, we can look at it in two ways. So you'll see we've got the events column as well as the events actual column. So looking at the events column, you can see which of your contacts booked the most events, number of events with you for a given period of time. By looking at the events actual, you're able to see which of your contacts spent the most with you. Another way I also like to look at this is by grouping the report by account. So rather than viewing the contacts that were most booked, you can also see which account booked the most with you. And again, you have the option to look at it by the number of events or by the dollar spent. So this is great if you want to follow back up with top spenders, try and get them to rebook, send a thank you, anything along those lines. So I really do love this report. All right. So I know we just threw a lot of information your way in a short period of time, but I hope that you found it valuable and beneficial as you either continue to report out of Triple C or maybe you're just getting started using this report section. So we will stick around, give you all a chance to chat in any questions that you have. As we mentioned at the beginning of the call, we do have a couple members of our support team here who are going to be able to help respond to those. So we'll leave the webinar open, and we do appreciate you all coming out. Also, if you have any questions following the webinar today, don't forget about our helping questions button in the right-hand corner.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. I just wanted to say bye as well.
Yeah, and feel free to chat those questions in, but and keep an eye out for this recording. It'll be sent out to you within 24 hours.
All right. Thanks, Lee.